Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hello and welcome to FinTech Insider Insights, this week in partnership with Marqeta. I'm David Barton-Grimley at 11FS, and today we are diving into something you all might be familiar with, payments. Our friends at Marqeta are about to release their annual State of Payments report, a survey of 500 small and medium-sized businesses in the UK, in addition to 3,000 consumers in the US and UK and 500 SMBs in the US. So today we're going to dive into some of the problems facing small and medium-sized businesses across the globe that Marqeta's report has identified, and how the next generation payment solutions can help them win. So to help us do so, I am joined by a great panel of guests. And first up, we have Marcin, Glogowski, Senior Vice President and Managing Director for Europe and UK, CEO of Marqeta. Welcome to the show, Marcin. You've certainly been very busy over at Marqeta. Can you tell us a bit more about what you've been up to?
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to be with our customers and, broadly speaking, sharing the perspective with the industry. So I'm heading European business of Marqeta. Marqeta is a global platform towards card issuing, processing of issued cards, and managed services that allow basically those programs based on cards issued actually work, operate effectively, and deliver towards the business objectives of it. And I think from our side, we've seen a lot of growth and interest of what we bring to the market in Europe, and looking very much towards the future, very much excited with everything that we are able to build together with, again, a great market and a great customers.
Awesome. It's great to have you on board. And next we have a warm return to the podcast for Stéphane Dehaies, CEO of Spendesk. Welcome back to the show, Stéphane. For our listeners who don't know, please tell them a little bit about yourself and Spendesk.
Thank you, David. So about me first. So I'm currently building and leading the Spendesk financial services platform. We are a payment institution, and we build with Marqeta a new platform, card issuing and payment processing for the EEA countries in Europe. Spendesk today is a leading spend management and procurement platform for SMB and mid-market in Europe. We are managing more than 3,000 logos in Europe, 200,000 users for customer, and we are building the payment of the platform B2B for customers, and with a strong focus on spend management and procurement solution.
Awesome. It's great to have you back, Stéphane. And last but no means least, we have Hanna Sommer, Director of GTM and Strategic Partnerships at Liberis. It's great to have you join us, Hanna. Please tell our listeners a little bit about your role at Liberis.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very pleased to be here today, talk about my favorite topic, embedded finance. As you said, I'm a Director of Go-to-Market and Strategic Partnerships at Liberis. We're a global embedded finance platform and focus on helping small businesses access fast, flexible funding. And we do so through our partners. My role specifically is all about building strategic alliances and scaling our go-to-market efforts across regions. And I'm super proud to say that we are actually live and able to fund small businesses in 15 countries so far. And so I'm also, as if this is not enough, the managing director of our business in the DACH region.
Amazing. All right. And that's our panel. Let's get on with the show. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, the very first part of this podcast, we're going to talk about some of the pain points that SMEs face. And I'd love to go to each of you and get a bit of an understanding of, what you believe are the kind of the headline worries and pains that SMEs are looking for solutions for. Marcin, I want to come to you first, just to talk about the report that you guys are making. What are some of the headlines from there? What are the big things that are leaping out to you?
Now, I think, first of all, and it should not be surprising that the SMBs are very much concerned with basically the financial situation of the world those days and potential impacts of basically the tariff discussion between US and a number of other countries. I think it adds simply to number of the challenges they are facing anyway, right? SMBs are very sensitive to any form of instability. And the reason for that is first of all, they don't have very deep pocket, put it very simple. They manage their cash flow. They need to be very careful managing their cash flow, primarily from the perspective their access to funding is very, very different compared to the large-scale enterprises that have the history, that have stability of the revenues, that towards basically predictability by being allowed and available to the traditional banking sector and banks. So I think that is really the area number one, that SMBs today, first of all, are overlooked from classical financial services sector, and they are struggling with the cash flow equation every single day. The other element is, as much as the realities of SMB from the resource perspective, from number of people, what the people are doing, are also very different from large companies. They don't have functions. They don't have teams supporting everything that needs to happen internally to be able to make business. They have a fraction of the FTE, fraction of a person doing particular type of the job. So they really need to get scalable, efficient solutions that even to support their daily operation, not necessarily being 100% or their core business focus, but things that need to happen. That towards basically reconciliation of their spend and finding also solutions that allow them to have all those things happening happened in the background while they can focus on making their business. I think today they still basically in many cases lack those types of solutions.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Hanna, I'd like to come to you next, actually, and just pick up on one of the first things that Marcin was talking about, which was funding. I mean, I guess you're seeing the same kind of thing. Like, what do you see are the major funding and cash flow issues that you see from SMEs?
Yeah, it's like I literally couldn't agree more. Like what we see is like there's a massive struggle for SMBs to get funding. Often is they're just denied, like bang out, like because retail banks wouldn't understand their business models or don't understand seasonality and so on. So from what we are seeing and hearing back from merchants is about 80% of SMBs are just fundamentally denied funding by retail banks. Or the other option is that their needs just go unmet, as in like, they get an offer, but it's nowhere near the number that they would need in order to, for example, it's like cover payroll or cover, any seasonal dips. And I think what's like super important nowadays is like that access to capital is fast enough and that the underwriting models aren't as rigid because there's so many different businesses in the world and it's just not taken into account in the normal sort of retail funding.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I mean, 80% is huge. That is such a huge statistic.
I know. Yeah.
That you've seen there. And actually, just quickly, just to backtrack, that is that another 80%, which Marcin comes from your report in Marqeta. To your point about the U.S. economy, I think the stat from your report is that 80% of SMBs are concerned about the U.S. economy and the impact of their businesses. The point that you mentioned, which is just crazy huge. Stéphane, I'd like to come to you on your views as well.
Yes, I think from our experience working with more than 3,000 SMB across Europe, I think there is two key elements. First one, Marcin shared about his report. I think economic uncertainty is its SMB disproportionately hard. Why? Because first they have smaller cash buffers if we compare with mid-market and corporate, of course. And as Hanna said, I think the way they have been served by bank and particularly business banking these last years has been not aligned with the specificity of this business. And I think also they have less structural resilience during all these market volatilities, all these macroeconomic headwinds who impact their supply chain and also their capacity to invest. So I think that's the first one. The second one, and what we can see also, is the impact on their payment system. I think all these SMB have first fragmented payment system. They often juggle between different systems. They have to do different reconciliation in their system, so it's not efficient. I think they have also this lack of real-time visibility, and they have to wait end of the month to have reconciliation with a lot of data, different system, to have a view and to make the right decision for their company. So they operate they are blind until end of the month. And I think, as Anna said, there is some resource constraint. They don't have full-time dedicated teams to manage their enterprise, their cash on a day-to-day, their spend management. And when you add complexity in your process, it can be about your account payable, account receivable, procurement process. This lack of this resource constraint is also an issue for the SMB. So that's what we can see today on the market.
So interesting. I'm super glad you mentioned technology there. Actually, Martin, I'd love to come to you. That has got to be a huge challenge, right? You've got real-time data, real-time systems, all sorts of different technologies you have to use. You're a tiny business. How do you know what to do?
Well, and I think that's on, let's say from two sides, it's both the challenge and the opportunity. This is challenge for the SMB, absolutely. And let's face it, SMB customer cannot utilize, because also, I mean, they struggle to solve even more basic questions. But this is the opportunity for providers of the service that is meeting SMB requirements, but being able to deliver that in a very efficient, optimal way, so that SMB uses the service, but operating the service and this offer or system doesn't cost them a lot of resources.
100%. And Hanna, I'd love to come to you, because I guess some of those same operational issues also translate into funding, right? Because I suppose it's not just about applying for funding, it's about knowing maybe where to go, the documentation you have to prepare. It's got to also be very complicated, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that we're trying to solve, to just provide very simple and flexible funding, and also very fast funding without the need for loads of documentation and bureaucracy. And I think if you, what I always find super interesting is actually deep dive into what's even the use of funds for SMBs, because I think that's quite a good indicator to understand SMB pain points. And as I mentioned before, we're live in 15 countries, right? And it's not the same everywhere. Martin just mentioned tariffs in the US. So in the US, we see completely different use of funds than in the UK or in the Nordics. And if you basically look into it and deep dive, you see in the US we have merchants very, very likely to use their funds for growth initiatives like marketing or equipment updates. Or in the Nordics, there's traditionally very, very long cash flow gaps because of long invoice cycles. So that's a primary use of fund in the Nordics. Or in UK and Ireland, a lot of the time, by the way, it's they're using the funding to cover costs, cover inventory, that type of stuff. But it's this staff cost thing is super, super crucial, because small businesses don't have plenty of cash sitting in the bank. It's razor sharp margins as such that we're seeing.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. So to plug into those spending types require plugging into platforms and places where the SMEs are generating that data, right? And so I suppose when you talk about an embedded finance play, it's all about trying to do those plugins. I mean, what are some of the major data sources that you see or that you're interested in, Hanna?
Like for us to come up with a quote. So for us, it's literally we are interested in transaction data, which is why we're working with partners who do see this transaction data, and it can literally be anything from a marketplace to digital acquirer. And I think that's also to my point around simplicity. So what we want to do is we want to offer finance in the platform or in the ecosystem the small merchants are every single day, because we don't want them to like leave their platform that they know and then like, apply for funding in a different platform. We want the funding sort of embedded in their known ecosystem and ideally white labeled, because that's the sort of the trusted relationship they've already built.
Oh, that's just super interesting. I'd love to talk a little bit about one of those sources of data, or data types anyway, I guess, which is expense management. And Stéphane, like, what are some of the major issues that you see there? I just want to flag up a stat that comes from the Marqeta report, which said that 79% of SMBs said they want increased visibility into expense categories. And overall, £742 is lost monthly on average on expense management. That is a lot of money for a small business. It's a huge amount of money.
Yes, and it's a very good point. So when we talk to our customer, they consistently tell us that they want one platform for three things. First thing is about the control. Control why? Because it means automated spend limit and approval workflow. As we said, they have resource constraint and they cannot afford manual oversight, additional control, and manual oversight. So control is key. Visibility, and that's why we are talking about real times tracking and reporting. No more spreadsheet archaeology to track and to make the reconciliation on a monthly basis. So this real time data on expenses is very important. And simplicity, because at the end, one platform. It's today SMB have different platforms, different spreadsheets, different tools to do the same thing end to end. So the simplification, one platform instead of 5-6 different vendors we have to manage. That's a cost. So that's the basic of the spend management. So that's a free priority. If we look on data, today, in this environment, uncertainty, market volatility, we still see a lot of optimization for expense first on license, so software. That's the first one. Of course, about marketing advertising. So we can see, depending of the region, and particularly on the digital investment. And the first one, there is a lot also of expense and control on G&A and marketplace, who is and particularly for digital company, cross-border company, very important to control. So that's the data we can see, and our customers are currently optimizing investment management platform.
That's super interesting. Marcin, anything to add?
Well, I think just double clicking on what Stéphane was saying, and really to think how many elements it takes really to be able to deliver this to this need that is really the core of SMB in the related areas. It takes the right infrastructure. And this is what we bring into this equation, which is dynamic card controls that are allowing very high level of customization of the controls. Just-in-time funding of the card, which in the end of the day, that the balance on the card is available at the moment of the spend, but before that, it remains as an overall working capital pool for the company, right? So it takes a lot those days, and number of actors in this equation are very much needed to be able to satisfy this existing need.
Stéphane, do you want to come in?
No, I think it's a good point. I think this platform infrastructure is about everything. This real time, this capability to configure your spend rules. You can manage your MCC filter, geo restriction, velocity control for all your platform is critical. And that's why spend management brings solution for treasury and to optimize your cash flow, just to highlight this point that Marcin just mentioned.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And are you all seeing, each of you individually, a variance in the sectors that have these issues, particularly from a technology standpoint? And the answer could be that it's everybody, that it's ubiquitous, and I'm sure it's going to vary a lot by the market in the region, Hanna, as you were identifying earlier with funding needs. But what are you seeing? I mean, Martin, let's start with you very, very quickly from that kind of report level overview. I mean, are you seeing any difference in sectors?
Well, I think from the report level, which is in the end of the day a kind of quantitative reflection of average of the market, we see definitely less than we see working with our customers. And even from expense management perspective, and Stéphane, I think you are absolutely able to double click on that. Expense management, that vis-a-vis the type of the business of the company, calls for very specific solutions and being very, very mindful what those companies are really struggle. What are the types of expenses? What are the problems they are trying to solve with expense management? But this is also broader, I think. And from your end, definitely there is a dependency of basically the type of the business, products or services that translate to the very specific needs, and hence also what you need to offer to be successful, given the diversity of SMB world.
Yeah, I honestly, absolutely agree. I think it's the type of the business as in the segment, but then it's also the size of the business. And then again, it's like David, as you said, it depends on the geography. So, for example, like for us, it's like very clear, like small businesses, because they have so little money on the side. It's absolutely most important that they have like access to funds super fast. And obviously, that's how we need to also position our product to them. But then also, it's like deliver on our promise that we can actually deliver that funding, like in some countries, even within a few minutes. Whereas with mid-sized SMBs, they care much more, for example, around customer service, around different features, that type of thing. And also the use of fund is completely different. Like for our product specifically, I would say, it works super well for seasonal businesses or for businesses that need to purchase a lot of stock, if you're thinking of sort of e-commerce and all that type of stuff. But it's like sort of typical merchants where this product works super well is like retail or restaurant sector. And that is literally the same across the board in all countries we're live in.
Super interesting. And there's a rich stream of data with e-commerce restaurant business as well. Stéphane?
Yes, absolutely supportive of Hanna and Marcin comments. If we look on our target at Spendesk, we have an audience span between 50 to 1,000 FTE. And I think we can split between SMB, smaller SMB who have key priorities about simplicity, efficiency, and automation, because they have to do business and they have to be fast. I think that's the first one. So we need solutions that work out of the box and to be able to adapt very quickly. If we look larger mid-market companies, more complexity, so more sophisticated feature like multi-entity management. They are cross-border, they have different legal entities. So that's very important to be able also to bring on spend management, expense procurement, all this capability for growth with also more complex approval workflow, because that's the level of spend is more important. So you need to secure also this process. I think both share the same core need, spending from and to change from a risk perspective to transform to a strategic advantage. I think that's what we try to bring also, to better monitor, not to manage risk, but to turn as a strategic advantage with better technology, real-time control, and to make the right decision at the CFO level at the end of the day.
It's so interesting to see how these needs vary so much. Anyone else for a final word? I had Martin.
Maybe more, let's say, philosophical or historical view to that as well. I mean, there is a fundamental reason why the beginning of fintech industry started from consumer. This was way simpler to solve and way easier basically to bring scalable solutions, right? And as much as basically this is the space that becomes very much crowded, I think really the next wave of growth, great success stories as even basically presented by Hanna and Stéphane. This is the space which takes courage. This is the space that takes different approach. Not so on one hand being able to offer scalable solution, but being mindful of all the colors, tastes that are related to subsegments and specific cases and whatever, let's say, number of cuts you can provide towards the SMB. But there is definitely a price of basically opening this market and driving basically and building this space, right? That again, Hanna and Stéphane and their companies are proving.
And it's such a huge market as well, right? Wherever we go around the world. All right. So before we find out more about how businesses serving this sector can address these findings, we're just going to take a quick break. So don't go anywhere.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
In today's fast-changing digital world, proving your company is trustworthy isn't just important for growth, it's essential. And that's why Vanta is here. Vanta helps companies of all sizes get compliant fast and stay that way with industry-leading AI, automation, and continuous monitoring. So whether you're a startup tackling your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001 or an enterprise manager vendor risk, Vanta's trust management platform makes it quicker, easier, and more scalable. Vanta also helps you complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster so you can win bigger deals sooner. The results? According to a recent IDC study, Vanta customers slash over $500,000 a year in costs and are 3 times more productive. Establishing trust isn't optional. Vanta makes it automatic. Visit vanta.com/insider to sign up for a free demo today. That's vanta.com/insider. Welcome back to FinTech Insider Insights. So before the break, we examined some of the problems SMBs are facing when it comes to payments. And now we're going to look ahead to some of the latest solutions solving these problems and how we might go about addressing them. So Marcin, I'm going to come to you first. We highlighted in part 1 the main parts of the ecosystem that are being let down, right? We talk about expense management, we talked about technology, we talked about funding as a big issue as well. But where would you see is the biggest room for improvement as you look at it today?
Well, I think on top of what we have already discussed and covered, there is one area that, as basic as it may seem those days, is still very basic and fundamental challenge for the SMBs. And this is offering their customers the same choice and flexibility of payments that the customers are used to in a more enterprise setup. And what I mean by that is recent years has been a great growth of buy now, pay later solutions. And this was really meeting the customer experience requirements and need basically to address also their basically financial and cash flow equation. But I think SMBs today are actually struggling with bringing the same type of the payment and even acceptance infrastructure that the large enterprises do. Simply, if you look again, large e-commerce platforms, they have tens and hundreds of people just focusing on the acquiring side on payments acceptance. And this is nothing that SMB can raise, even simply from the resource perspective. So there is fundamental need still for providers of financial services that are able to bring this element and layer to the SMB. That without SMB taking a massive workload related to it.
Stefano, I want to get you in on that point. What do you think about it?
I think new technology are absolutely central for SMB. Why? Because that should be the core of their process first. They need to bring more efficiency on spend management, expand management, procurement. And because they have limited resources, limited capabilities, they can spend time for a lot of integration with different systems. So central core technology is critical and platforming is key for SMB first. Talking about technology and payment platform, it's very important for business to be embedded in everything they do. Why? Because at the end of the day, this is their cash flow, but they should be smart payment platform, but also highly secure platform and process. So that's critical to work with minimum suppliers with one platform and to be able to embed a payment transaction, payment activity through their through their operation platform, and to build new API also for new business opportunity for growth. So that's why it's very central to invest in this new technology. Don't forget, with AI, we will be able and we will develop, and with Spendesk since 2017, we are building new process with AI solution to ensure we are very close from their problem to solve their problem. So they are also, that's critical for them also to be very close from this transformation, because it will transform their process, their efficiency, to be very focused on what is more important at the end of the day. This is their cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, AI is just one of these things that just goes across everything, right? Marcin?
Yeah, I think, from at least our part of the equation as well, I think it's really in our hands, broadly speaking, and in our responsibility, in our also decision-making to make our own business, to bring basically everything that SMBs need. And I think from our perspective, as what we do largely is based on the payment card solution. It means that, well, we need to provide even more what we do, which is basically the enable with card solution the flexible underwriting models. That based on the also information that can be retrieved from transactions that were already taken. Real-time access to funds, that not to add to the working capital equation. And again, additional element that allow to bring the dynamic card, as we say. So card that is issued on the spot, that including the virtual card, that allows also to open number of the use cases and equip number of businesses like Stéphane's or Hanna's, right? To be able to offer what SMB needs.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like dynamic cards that you're talking about are pretty crucial to some of the like food delivery businesses, for example. It improves security if you're having a third party using a card for a very, very specific use case. So I think like in the UK, for example, a lot of the food delivery companies are using that kind of technology. And it is just incredible, right? It issues it pretty much like on the spot for a limited period of time, pre-funded for exactly that amount. Like I'm always just astounded by how incredible that technology actually is. It's pretty cool. I'd like to, you raised revenue financing and capital, and that's a pretty good segue into funding. And I'd like to talk about like embedded finance and BNPL, Hanna, for a little bit. I mean, BNPL is not a new terminology, but I suppose in some ways for the SMB market, it kind of is. And just taking a stat from the Marqeta report, which shows that BNPL is gaining quite a lot of traction across the payments market. So something like 59% of SMBs believe that BNPL can actually drive loyalty for their own businesses as well by offering BNPL to their customers. How do you think about it?
I was just going to say I completely agree with this report, Martin, because we actually just and maybe to add a little bit of color to it, I'm giving you an example. We do have a product called Pay with Liberis, which is basically our step of a BNPL solution for our merchants. And we do have a partner called Vagaro in the UK and the US. And essentially what they do is they are in the health and beauty space. And if a salon owner, let's say they want to buy a new piece of equipment or they want to purchase their shampoos or whatever they need for their salon, they can do that all within the app. And then there comes up a little button, say Pay with Liberis. And that is absolutely seamless. It's relevant. It removes the friction. And it basically the merchant doesn't have to go through a separate application process. And the beauty of it is that our partners, in this case Vagaro, can decide to completely waive the fee, which obviously makes it even more attractive for the merchant. And basically from what we're seeing, and the reason also why we've launched this product is because we feel like it's specifically effective in verticals like with high ticket purchases, even if you think of hardware purchases that a lot of merchants need to make to have these like beautiful, big touch screen checkout terminals or so, or merchants with a seasonal cash flow like in the beauty, fitness or retail industry. So that's a super exciting product that we will be launching in the UK in Q3.
Love it. Marcin, go for it.
Well, I think from our perspective, as we recognize this need and trend, absolutely. Marqeta has been building a very specific product under the name Marqeta Flex, which in the end of the day is building the connectivity in between card issuer. And this card doesn't need to have today a credit functionality, but providing actually a fallback option for the buyer instead of using the funds available on the card to fall back into buy now, pay later flow based on simply a choice or lack of funds, right? So I think from our perspective, it's always customer first and understanding basically particular pain points of the flow of the customer and trying to find a technological platform to solve it.
Stéphane.
Yes, and I think we have to move from this corporate card who used to be very passive payment tools for years to a more active business intelligence platform. And that's what Marcin said. It's a more dynamic spend control through the Marqeta platform. And I think the Flex solution is a very good example. But I would like to take one example. We just launched recently a new multi-use virtual card where we can create card multi-use for a campaign, marketing campaign for 1 month for your marketing department. We can organize seminar for your company, and you can manage different costs. So more intelligence, more dynamic control. That means more efficiency, and that means more control of your costs. But also it brings value because you can be more proactive. You can get a marketing campaign for the launch of a new product on a specific region because you have a regulatory change, important one. So I think moving from this more passive payment tool solution to a more dynamic, to know what is the need of your customers. You talk about the BNPL solution. That's a good example. It's a loyalty solution, but also can bring short-term solution for a long-term loyalty. So that's the future of the payment, to be born more dynamic and to use the data at the right moment for your customers.
And that's very interesting because the card that you're talking about could equally be credit and debit, right? So that could be pre-funded through a lending solution as well. Martin?
I think simply following up on what Stéphane is saying, I think we are de facto moving from the world of lack of options towards more and more options available for the SMB and a choice behind that. And there is obviously, this is still largely to be brought to the market, right? But this is, I think, where we are together with number of our customers or number of players on the market. They are moving. So from the scarcity to basically opening the options.
That's very interesting. I just want to stick with you for a little bit, Martin, and talk about partnering here, right? Because, a lot of what we're talking about is creating partnerships between, yourselves and other businesses like we have on the podcast here today. I mean, tell us a little bit about, how partnering actually works. I know you have a very interesting case study from Capital on Tap as well. How does that work?
Absolutely. So I think for what we do, we actually power businesses that create financial solutions. And there is the very specific element that we are offering is, let's face it, very, very specific, right? That based on number of, let's say, features and technology behind makes the business offering of our partners, our customers, really able to deliver towards a need. So I think when you mentioned Capital on Tap, I think their vital business and mission is to bring the working capital in an easier way to small businesses, and very, very often businesses that are overlooked by traditional banks. They're not seeing worthy of being offered in a form credit-wise. And I think the other element is, as those cards basically are both issued in the real time, but they also, the platform you provides backwards very dynamically the information where the cards are spent, for what. This also allows Capital on Tap to continuously develop their value. That is, for example, what are basically, how to shape the benefits, where to put basically even rewards related to the type of the spend, not of overall customer base, but a specific company in the equation, right? So I think that's basically our role, to enable the card program, that it works very, very efficiently. It's very scalable, and it provides not only transactional layer, but all the information that is needed to keep improving the value proposition of our partners, our customers, that vis-a-vis their end customers.
Hanna, I'd love to bring you in on this conversation because you mentioned, for an example of a marketplace that you're working with. What kind of demands do you see from some of your customers who are embedding your services into their environments as well?
Yes. So essentially, like, the marketplaces are all, they're all about technology. For them, everything needs to be on one platform, super simple, real time, and amazing 24/7 customer service. Because I think customer service is something that we haven't touched on yet. And I do absolutely believe that the one, like the expectations of the end customer as in the small business is like increasing massively as in like this 24/7 thing, having AI bots and all the rest of it. But it's also like marketplaces, they have incredibly high expectations of any partner they're associating themselves with, because specifically in our case, it's all white labeled. And if a marketplace puts their name against something, it absolutely has to be top quality. So they're not gonna be happy with anything less. So they definitely keep us on our toes, and obviously with new technologies coming in on an ongoing basis, and it's like such speed in change constantly. It's definitely a super interesting and exciting space to be in, but it's also one where you absolutely have to stay on top of innovating your products and meeting the needs of our partners.
The demands are quite high, right? I'm super glad you raised customer service, actually, because you're right. We haven't brought that up in this pod. I mean, Stéphane, I want to come to you for a final word on this subject. I mean, are you seeing that kind of demand as well for customers?
Yes, but I think very quickly, I think payment technology is the backbone of a business operation for customer. I think when we have this embedded services, should be the backbone, but at the same time should be invisible, but also intelligent for the customer. So that's what Marcin is doing with its platform, with Marqeta, card issuing, payment processing. At the same time, we are managing some B2B process, at least in Spendesk. So we need to ensure that this backbone, this technology, it's efficient, invisible for internal customer and external customer, and of course that we can bring all this intelligence in terms of virtual card, new solution, new technology, better understanding the working capital issue we have to manage short term. So fully supportive with this analysis.
Awesome. And to wrap up, I'd love to just go around to each of you and start with you, Marcin, for one piece of advice for how an SMB could better manage their payments based on everything we've discussed. I mean, we've discussed so many different themes. Marcin, what is that kind of big thing that stands out to you as advice that you would give?
Well, I think it's basically maybe starting from even less just payment perspective, but overall. And I think the question I would ask everyone managing or owning the SMB business is, what is the value creation activity for you? Where do you want to focus vis-a-vis what you're doing today and what takes most of your time that is not related to you really driving business? So where is the business creation? Where is the consequence of having the business? And once you have this understanding, what is mainly taking your time, resources, or even money, this is the area where I think I would start exploring the world, as the world is changing. The companies like Liberis or Spendesk, they are able to solve. So name your problem you want to solve and explore basically the space who is able to do it for you, saving you time, money, resources that you can inject back into your business.
Awesome. Yeah, so frame up that problem properly. Hanna, what do you think?
Very heavy +1 on what Marcin just said. Like, I really think small businesses should never settle for sort of a one size fits all, and regardless of what the topic is, there's so many options out there. So look for a partner who understands your business, your needs, and then basically go for them, because I believe whether that's funding or expense management or whatever it is, it's like if you're choosing the right partner, then that can really be a big game changer and a growth catalyst as well.
Awesome. And Stéphane, to you.
Yes, I would say to the SMB that think strategically, not only about technical solution to fix a pain point, but think strategically what you need to be focused on what your business, your customer, and your growth. And I think my key recommendation is to think platform, not point solution, but think platform that can deliver this efficiency and all-in solution for you. And that's what we are doing with spend management and procurement solution. We think intelligent spend management is a force for growth for SMB customer and for the SMB industry. So that's our recommendation.
Amazing. And thanks so much to the three of you. That wraps up today's discussion. So big thank you to our panelists for breaking down this very important topic with me today. So I'm going to go around each of you and you tell me where we can find out more about you and connect with you. Martin.
Starting from LinkedIn and reaching out to me directly or using the redirect from the LinkedIn to the company website.
Amazing. Hanna?
Same as Martin. So LinkedIn is always good, and our company website. And I love some feedback on our newly branded company website because we've just redone it.
Amazing. Cool. And Stéphane?
Yes, same, starting from linking to talk about the industry, the change, transformation, but also to our company website, Spendesk.com. You can see the solution and you will have a great team, product, engineering, marketing, who can answer a lot of questions for your issues. So happy to have your feedback also. Thank you very much, David.
Amazing. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And by the way, all of your company websites are amazing. They're all really cool. And check out 11fs.com as well. That's also a pretty cool website, I should say. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. If you like what you've heard, follow our podcast and don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us to make it better and helps others find the show. As always, if you want to join the conversation, find us on social media. Just search for 11FS or FinTech Insider or email podcasts@11fs.com. Thanks very much and goodbye. In today's fast-changing digital world, proving your company is trustworthy isn't just important for growth, it's essential. And that's why Vanta is here. Vanta helps companies of all sizes get compliant fast and stay that way with industry-leading AI, automation, and continuous monitoring. So whether you're a startup tackling your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001 or an enterprise manager vendor risk, Vanta's trust management platform makes it quicker, easier, and more scalable. Vanta also helps you complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster so you can win bigger deals sooner. The results? According to a recent IDC study, Vanta customers slash over $500,000 a year in costs and are 3 times more productive. Establishing trust isn't optional. Vanta makes it automatic. Visit vanta.com/insider to sign up for a free demo today. That's VANTA.com/insider.